Devout Christian nationalist and alleged untreated alcoholic defense secretary, we refuse to say the Department of War out of spite and out of respect for our country. Of course, I'm talking about Pete Hegseth. He is so incompetent that he publicly admitted the stated reason for the U.S. getting into the war in Iran has always been a lie. Let's play the clip.
Underground, they're buried, and we're watching them 24/7. So we know where any nuclear material might be.
Reclaiming my time for
we're
just a
watching
quick second here. We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambitions, and they had a conventional shield of thousands of
So Operation Midnight Hammer accomplished nothing of substance. It left us at exactly the same place we were before.
So as you can see, like when these guys get out of their bubble, when they get outside of these sycophantic, brown-nosing board meetings with Donald Trump, all of their logic, everything completely falls apart.
Here's the thing with Pete Hegseth. He is unqualified to run a nonprofit, as he has run two into the ground. He is unqualified to run the Department of Defense because he wants to call it the Department of War. And in a time of war that's costing billions and billions of dollars every day, he wants to legally change the name to the Department of War. This is not a serious person. This is a person that loves to watch people die. He has no ability to demonstrate and articulate what the goals of this war are because there are none other than him to feel like he's a big, strong, powerful guy for the first time in his pathetic life.
And we're also learning more about the cost of war. Let's play the clip.
Ultimately, at this day, we're spending about $25 billion on Operation Epic Fury. Most of that is munitions. There's part of that is obviously O&M and equipment replacement. We will formulate a supplemental through the White House that will come to Congress once we have a full assessment of the cost of the conflict.
Sure. So you're saying the full cost at this point is $25 billion?
Yeah, that's our estimate for the cost.
Okay. Interesting, because I'm glad you answered that question, because we've been asking for a hell of a long time and no one's given us the number.
And Pete Hegseth has made it clear that he doesn't give a shit how much this is costing American taxpayers. Let's play the clip.
It cost American taxpayers in terms of the strike to the Iranian school where kids were killed. Do you have that number in terms of the missiles we used?
As I've said, that unfortunate situation remains under investigation.
You don't know how much it costs the taxpayer?
But I wouldn't tie a cost to that, to anything.
It's a reasonable question, no, sir? I mean, our taxpayer money was going there. Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
I would simply ask you what the cost is of an Iranian nuclear bomb.
I'm going to give you that opportunity.
I would simply ask you what the... You're playing gotcha questions about domestic things. I'm not...
You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's going to be in terms of the increased cost.
Why won't you answer what it costs to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb?
I give you that.
All right. It's important to point out the hypocrisy here. Pete Hegseth is a Jesus guy. He's a Jesus first guy. He always talks about his faith. He trots out his crazy white nationalist, anti-woman pastor. He has an idea for America that is eliminating minorities. He's already demoting and or firing Black people that are far more qualified than this guy will ever be. And so the hypocrisy on stage that MAGA uses to both Christian signal and at the same time as they get their cult in, oh, we're doing it for Jesus, they do the exact opposite. They're total hypocrites. And Pete Hegseth, like so many people in the Trump regime, have failed forward. This guy is a failure, but because the color of his skin and the asses that he kisses, he rides coattails and fails forward. This is not a person that is qualified or accomplished. And you can look no further than the fact of who does he want to beat down? Women. He wants to beat down Black people. He wants to beat down gay people, while at the same time acting so cowardly. He wants to act like a badass. And this is the crux of the MAGA movement. This is the crux of it. Just layered hypocrisy, layered duplicity. Pumps.
The bombastic language that he comes out with is just a script because he doesn't have any answers. And I'll tell you what I've had it with. I have fucking had it acting like Iran was going to launch a nuclear missile at the United States the day they were bombed. In June, we said we obliterated all their ability. Now he's talking about nuclear ambitions. Bitch, my ambition is that you would be impeached. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. This is craziness and throwing so much money at this. And I just want to remind everyone, Pete Hegseth disbanded the office that would investigate how civilians are killed in war. And I believe he did that because he has absolutely zero give a shit about civilians being murdered with his bombs because he is bloodthirsty.
Yeah, and it's my opinion. I believe Pete Hegseth is a war criminal.
Absolutely.
I think he is flagrant about his war crimes. And the sole purpose of this war with Iran is twofold. Number one, to placate to Benjamin Netanyahu. And number two, Trump wants to be at war because he thinks that it will help him in the midterms and will help him usurp the Constitution and somehow have some third term. Hegseth was also asked if he would follow orders to deploy troops to the polls if the president ordered it. Let's play the clips.
Follow the orders of the president, yes or no?
The president, you like to insinuate that the president issues
It's a
illegal
simple
orders, which he hasn't
question.
and does not.
Who would you follow, the president or the Constitution?
I will note that in 2024, troops were deployed. Joe Biden, by the way.
Who
Joe
would you
Biden
send
were deployed to polling locations in 15 states. 2024, Joe Biden, troops deployed to polling locations in 15 states. Explain that one to me.
All right, this is a lie. He just lied right there. Biden did not order troops to polling locations. Some governors of individual states deployed the National Guard. They provided cybersecurity support and stood by for potential post-election unrest, largely away from the actual polling places. A presidential deployment order is illegal under federal law. And you have to understand what they're doing. What Trump is doing is he wants to stay in power. The Supreme Court is assisting him. They just gutted the Civil Rights Act because all of MAGA is a racist regime. Full stop, period, end of discussion. If anybody you know still supports MAGA, I guarantee you, under a polygraph and truth serum, it's going to reveal that these people are uniquely and overtly racist. And Trump and Hegseth and all of the others, they are using ICE to prime the public for a militaristic state. We watched people get shot, called a fucking bitch, no investigations, no arrests, no accountability. So they have shown the public, this is what we get to do. If we don't like what you say, we're going to shoot you, call you a fucking bitch, and we're going to move right on down the road. So ICE is going to be at the polls, but make no mistake. We know from Trump 1.0, he wants to use the military. He wants generals like Hitler had. He is going to use the military against U.S. citizens. That's why there's so much firing going on at the Pentagon. That's why Hegseth is firing all of these seasoned, experienced veterans that want to uphold the Constitution. In MAGA, upholding the Constitution is disloyal because they are more loyal to a toddler senior citizen than they are to the country.
Well, I would just say look no further than Pete Hegseth's reaction to Mark Kelly, the group of them, but particularly Mark Kelly, who is a military, I think he was he was an astronaut. He did all these things in the military. Pete Hegseth goes after him because he reiterated, soldiers do not have to break the law. If they are ordered to break the law, they don't have to do it. And the meltdown at the Pentagon and in the Trump administration tells me they have no intention of following the law. They have no intention of following the Constitution because they tried to reduce Mark Kelly's rank and pension because he reiterated what legality is for these soldiers. It's ridiculous.
They also tried to indict these Congress people and senators that spoke out. And grand jurors, everyday Americans, denied this. And so when this seems overwhelming because they have so much in their arsenal, they have the Supreme Court, which ironically has a Black conservative justice that votes against everything that led him to have this powerful position. They have the military. They have all of these weapons, literal weapons at their disposal. Everyday Americans are resisting against this. And you can look no further than to what happened in Hungary, the defeat of Viktor Orban. And so it's important as we feel helpless and hopeless to remember that we, the people, still have the power. And just a prediction that I have. Right now, Republicans are still supporting all of the war crimes and illegal activities of Donald Trump because the Magnificent Seven, which are these AI groups, are upholding the S&P 500 and the Dow because they are exchanging trillions of dollars to keep the stock market up. It's not going to be tenable with the oil situation that's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. And when these stocks plummet, and they will, Republicans always lead us to war and tank the stock market. That's when the country club Republicans will be upset. And that's when Republican politicians, both in the House and Senate, will be like, oh, yeah, he seems to not be America first anymore. And that's the reason these AI companies are propping up the stock market so much. It's a Ponzi scheme right now, and it is bound to crash and crash spectacularly. While all this is going on, Trump is posting the following on Lie Social at 4 a.m. Pop this up. Iran can't get their act together. They don't know how to sign a non-nuclear deal. They better get smart soon No more Mr. Nice Guy with him in a photoshopped holding a weapon. And I just want to point out to everybody, and it's just so exhausting saying this stuff. We had a nuclear agreement that the black president put together that was working. Inspectors were able to go in and it was working. And Donald Trump, everything that Obama touched, wants to rip it up because he wants everything to be his, even your passport. He wants your passport to be his.
Well, and here's the deal. This bombastic, I'm such a tough guy. It works for the lie social people. Like they think it's cool and they think, oh, he's a big guy. I think that the universe at large, like internationally, globally, when this stuff gets out to mainstream, he just looks like a dipshit. I mean, Iran has rubbed our nose in the shit that we have created militarily, domestically, economically. And so this post just makes him look like the asshole that he is. And why he doesn't understand that, I mean, we know why, but it's stunning to me that no one around him realizes how ridiculous this is.
Well, no, by design, he's picked sycophants and loyalists. And that's a very important part as we study the autocratic takeover of this. There is no sane voice in the room. Nobody is going to say, hey, that post is really immature. That post is unbecoming a president. He learned that lesson in Trump 1.0. I do not want adults in the room. He's admittedly said, I like hanging out with losers. By design, scholars have told us they pick incompetent people. And so this is stunning here. And more than 60 days into the war, Trump still thinks Netanyahu gives a shit as to what he has to say. Here's some reporting from Axios. President Trump told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that Israel should only take surgical military action in Lebanon and avoid a full resumption of the war. Trump told Axios in a phone interview why it matters the ceasefire Trump helped broker in Lebanon is being only partially observed. And officials in both Israel and Lebanon are concerned it will collapse entirely before it's due to expire mid-May. There has been no progress in launching Israel-Lebanon peace talks, despite Secretary of State Lil Marco Rubio hosting 2 meetings with the respective ambassadors. My takeaway from all of this, growing up in a red state surrounded by a bunch of white country club Republicans that are all about national security and fiscal responsibility, is the MAGA regime is completely displaying American weakness and incompetence all day, every day. The MAGA Republican Party has exposed fully the lies of the Republican Party, that they're such great ambassadors for the economy and they're so fiscal. They're great businessmen. We're white guys. We know how to make some good money. They spend money that they cannot pay. They rob money from working class Americans to give it to the most parasitic bedwetting class imaginable. The billionaire bedwetters who have zero gratitude and are fucked up beyond all comprehension on video all the time. That Alex Karp from Palantir always seems coked up.
Yeah.
Elon Musk down a K-hole at all times. Peter Thiel is always sweating like a whore in church. I don't know what the fuck he's on. But these guys think that working class Americans owe them something and they are exempt from anything. And what's so terrifying about all of this is when you get into Palantir, they are embedding themselves into the federal government. The deep state that Trump warned everybody about, they are it. They are the Death Star. They have fired all of the objective civil servants and put in all of these really dark, nefarious forces.
You know, it's interesting to me, fascinating really is a better word, that it is so obvious that Netanyahu has zero respect for Trump, that he can do whatever the fuck he wants to do, and Trump's not going to do anything about it. I'm surprised at this point that that's not more of a topic of conversation in Republican circles, because it is objectively true. Netanyahu doesn't give a fuck what Trump says.
And further, Netanyahu doesn't give a shit about America or Americans.
Oh, no.
He sees us as a piggy bank that can fund his genocide and his homicide. The disrespect and the just downright using of hardworking Americans' income that have no choice, no tax loopholes whatsoever, no health care, no higher education is so immoral on its face. And then when the money gets over there, what they do with it is jaw-dropping. Pop this up, Kylie. Israel kills 3 rescue workers in Lebanon. Israel double tap strike kills 3 rescue workers. This is just war crime on top of war crime on top of war crime. But Trump thinks we should cut this genocidal, homicidal piece of shit user, Benjamin Netanyahu. He thinks we should cut him some slack. Pop this up. Axios is reporting Trump claims Netanyahu pardon would make Israel president a national hero. Well, you know, if you notice, Trump. The people that he likes and that he admires are war criminals. Benjamin Netanyahu, the guy from Saudi Arabia that dismembered Jamal Khashoggi,
Yes.
put him in acid, disintegrated him, and poured him down the drain. Vladimir Putin, and on and on. This is incredible American weakness on display in the worship of these two-bit fascist dictators. Why? Because our government is now in the throes of becoming a fascist dictatorship at the assist of all of these, Jesus people like Pete Hegseth. It's just the hypocrisy is overwhelming.